What is the root cause of all business failures? If you look in whichever industry, find 100 business and you look and determine what causes all this business to fail, right? What causes business failure? Second question that I want you to think about today is what causes personal failure? On an individual level, what causes people not to achieve what they need to achieve? I have observed that where there is no leadership in business or at personal level, then failure looms close by. Failure is around the corner. Where there's no good leadership in business, failure is around the corner. So I've seen that where there's poor leadership in businesses, there is a place or an environment that is created that is toxic to those people who are there. There will be poor business cultures, there's going to be low creativity, low innovation, and all these things will lead to business failure. At a personal level, if you want to achieve greatness, and think about greatness is something that you cannot do by yourself. You have to rally people around you to be able to help you to become successful. Again, the lack of leadership is what causes most failures at our personal level, at our personal levels, and even at a business level. So what is leadership? Leadership simply is influence, the ability to influence people to come together and to work for a common goal, towards a common goal. So it's very important. When you think about leadership, leadership has to do with guidance. It has to do with solutions. It has to do with achieving goals. It has to do with motivation. If it's a team motivation, or even at a personal level, it's motivation. Leadership has to do with that. Communication is tied into leadership. Planning and execution is also connected to good leadership. Vision, I mean, if you have a business, if you're a business leader, or if you want to start a business, you as a leader, you have to be the vision carrier and the vision communicator. You have to communicate vision to the rest of the people. Also, last but not least, direction. Direction is directly connected to leadership. So I want you to think about those things that I just mentioned and realize that leadership, and which we describe leadership as the ability to influence people towards a common goal. One thing that I want you to take away today, first thing I'll take away is that leadership is so important that everything rises and falls on leadership. Where there's good leadership, success will be achieved. Where there's poor leadership, failure is going to be observed and going to be seen, it's going to be experienced. Therefore, it doesn't matter if you're in the business world, if you are in ministry, if at your personal level, what I want you to realize that the greatest demand in today's business world is leadership. And I'm emphasizing this for a reason, because I want this to get in you, and I want you also to gain interest in understanding that you have to invest in your leadership skills and leadership abilities. Whether you're selling products on the online, where everybody's on social media, where everybody's look at their phones, if you have no good leadership abilities, then you'll find you'll not be able to connect with people in the right way. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we increase our leadership? How do we increase our leadership? I want to share with you 5 things that you can do every day or at any time of you, at whatever level you are in of your leadership, that can help you to increase your influence with the people. So number 1 is integrity. You have to become a person of integrity. One thing I've learned is that integrity is an area or a place where we all can grow. It doesn't matter how good you've been. Integrity is something that we always have to cultivate. I want you to think about diamond and gold. If you think about diamond or gold, whichever is your favorite, if you go to a jewelry store, what will happen? For them to tell you the purity and the quality of gold, what do? They take a magnifying glass and maybe observe through the light and see through if whatever is shining on the outside is the same thing that is inside. So the purity or the integrity of gold is measured when you see whatever is shining on the outside, which is attractive to the outside, is also in the inside. So becoming a person of integrity means becoming a person who is the same inside. Your motive and your actions are matching. It's about all those small things that are invisible, those things that you need a magnifying glass to see. You can call yourself a person of integrity all day, but until we come with a magnifying glass and look into your life, then we'll find if that is true. It's about having consistency of character. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the biggest or the greatest reward for having integrity. The greatest as a leader in terms of leadership, and even a place where you want to influence people, business, team place, where you are a team leader at home, if you want to realize the greatest benefit of integrity is trust. If people cannot trust you, you cannot move people. You cannot ask people to do things. People will not trust you, and you cannot achieve anything. How do you measure integrity? How do you measure integrity? We measure integrity by looking at three things. And actually, there are more things than three, but I want to give you the main three things that you have to look at and to be able to measure integrity. How do you treat people? How do you treat people, those people who you think maybe they're not important, those people who maybe they are not immediately benefiting you? Are you a person who is transparent? Look at your life and say, am I a person who is transparent? Do people see who I am? Or there's a cloud, or there's a curtain that's covering who you are? And then ask the last question, do I role play with everybody who I'm interacting with? Am I the same person from point A to point B, or from person A to person B? Very important. Second thing that you can do today and improve and increase your leadership ability or the ability to influence people is when you start believing in people. Believing in people is seeing the potential in people. Everybody has potential. So it's a matter of choosing to see the potential in people and acting from that perspective that everybody, whoever you interact with, they have great potential. So you have to ask yourself, so if I'm interacting with this person, let's say I'm interacting with a person, John or Mary or Elizabeth or Kamal, do I see their value and act in that perspective? What I want you to remember is this. Most people don't have people who believe in them. So if you're going to be that one person who will believe in that in another person, you'll find that you become a person of influence. And the other thing you have to realize that we can tell when somebody believes in us. You can tell if somebody is believing in you, and that person can tell if you're believing in them. So believing in people is so important if you want to increase your leadership skills. So how do you become a person who believes in people? 3 suggestions. You have to start believing in people's success before they show you that they are success. Think about a child who's about to walk. You have to visualize them walking. You have to encourage them to stand walking. You have to be able to become, even that person at work, or if it's your employee, or it's a person you are in charge of leading, then you have to start believing in their success. Start visualizing their success. Start imagining them being successful. Then that's the first step, because it's about the inward believing that person, which can be sensed when you interact with people. And then, number 2, emphasize in people's strength. Think about somebody's strength. List them. Tell them, I find you to be a great communicator. I find you to be a great connector. I find you to be an excellent person. I find you, or I've seen you becoming a person who has empathy. So highlight people's strength. Because if you focus on people's weakness, you might not be able to change. But if you focus on people's strength, then you'll be elevating their spirits, and these people will be able to do more and become the success that you're envisioning. Last but not least, list their past successes. I believe each and every person has some success, even if it's a new employee. Think about that employee has gone through the vetting process. He has become a person who has won in the race of getting that job. So you can always list people's successes. It doesn't matter where they are in life. And that's how you become a person who believes in people. Number 3, the third skill that can help you become a better leader. And I think this is so important. And also it's something that is still lacking, and something that's so obvious. You all have to become a person who listens to people. You have to increase your listening ability, listening skills. What is listening? Listening is giving attention to what is being communicated to gain understanding. Listening is giving attention to what is being communicated to gain understanding. What is being communicated at the moment? There's communication through words, there's communication through body language, there's communication everywhere, the atmosphere. You have to be able to listen. What is being communicated? I want you to think about this. If you ever crossed a river, I remember growing up, I liked playing in water. I liked playing and going to swimming at the river. And one thing I learned, that if you're going to cross a river successfully without injuring yourself, without drowning, without being carried away by the river, then there's three things that you have to look for. Number one, you have to look for slippery stones, or where there is slippery stones, where there is mud, where you can slip and fall. And you also have to feel the undercurrent. You see, when you look at the water on the top or at the surface, it might be looking as calm, but under the water could be moving. That's called the undercurrent, could be able to sweep you off. And then you have to look for solid ground. That's the place where you can be able to stand on and feel with your feet and be able to walk across the river. So in communication, you have to find the slippery rocks and the mud. Those are the things that are tangible, they are touchy. Those things are sensitive things that can cause you to be carried away by the river of disagreements or arguments. So you have to listen and get, okay, this is where the mud is, this is where the stone, these are the dangerous places I don't want to go with this person. And then what is most important, you have to listen to the undercurrents. Listen to the feelings and the emotions that is being communicated. And last but not least, look for the solid ground. These are the places that you can listen and see, okay, this is where we agree on. This is where we can come together and know that we agree on this area. So those three things are very important when you come into listening. And I want you to keep that in mind. Crossing a river, whenever you listen to somebody, think about crossing a river. So the value of listening goes without saying. Number one, it shows that you're valuing that person who is communicating to you. You're valuing that person who is saying whatever they're saying, you're valuing what they're saying. So it's very important. You're showing that, you know what, I value what you're saying and I'm ready to listen. Number two, when you value what they're saying, when you value that person, whatever you're doing, you're building a relationship. So listening is a great tool for building relationships. Think about the person who listens to you most likely that is the person you're really close to, whether it's your husband, your wife, your child, your parent. Very important. Even that employer who listens to you, most of the time, that is the person you have the best relationship with. Listen increases knowledge. Most of the time, we value talking. We just want to keep talking. But if you want to increase your knowledge, then you have to learn how to listen. And this is also very important when you're having one-on-one conversations so that you can be able to gain new insight. And then when you listen, you become a great listener, you are generating ideas. You're finding connection in your mind where you can be able to have better ideas. And last but not least, you will be increasing loyalty with people who you are listening to and those people who are listening to you. Very important. So listening is very important. I want to give you at least 3 or 4 ways you can increase or you can become a better listener. So these are what I call best listening practices. So listening practices that are the best. Number one, you have to maintain eye contact. Look at the person. And this is also coming, we have to think about when you come to the time that everybody is meeting on Zoom and meeting on this platform. So you have to look at the camera directly, therefore you're connecting eye contact. Like how I'm looking at you, you look at that person directly, listen keenly, maintain eye contact so that can show you're listening. Don't interrupt. Listen, let that person communicate or say what they are saying until there's a long pause and you realize, okay, they are done what they were saying. And also give you time to digest so that you can be able to hear what they've been saying. Major intervals, I would like you to also sum up. Okay, you're listening to a person speaking to you, and when they keep quiet, now it's time for you now to sum up what they have said in your own words so that this person can be able to understand, okay, you were able to understand what I said. So that is good listening practice. And also asking questions. If something was not clear, or don't make an assumption that this person is trying to say this and this, ask a question. That's going to help you become a better listener. Number 4 is understanding people. Now, again, we're talking about increasing your influence, increasing your leadership skill. If you become a person who understands people, what is understanding people? Understanding people is simply actively, intentionally looking for what people need. When you know what people need, that means you understand a person. You know what they're passionate about, you know what they're worried about, you know what they're fearing about. So when you understand people, you basically becoming sensitive to the atmosphere, to the room, right? There's some people who maybe you've come across, they are very alert of what is going on. They're able to sense the room and be able to understand what is the need at the moment. So very important, understanding people is determining what people need. If you become a person who understands people, simply by getting that knowledge from hearing people and listening to people, you find that understanding is the greatest tool that you can be able to use to offer great services and products. Think about a business that does not understand its customer. It will always offer the wrong product and will not buy the product and the business is going to run into ground. It's going to run aground. So very important. If you're in business and you don't understand people, you don't understand your business. Okay? If you're in business and you don't understand your people, then you don't understand business. Very important, very important. What leads to misunderstanding? What leads to misunderstanding? Misunderstanding is born out of fear. When we fear people, when we fear misunderstanding, or when we fear to be misunderstood, fear is basically that foundation that causes a lot of misunderstanding. So fear, we fear to be rejected. We fear to be understood wrongly. We fear that that person might act in a certain way that is not going to be pleasing to you. Fear is a bad thing when it comes to understanding people, and it leads to more misunderstanding than anything else. Self-centeredness. We always be self-centered. If you want to understand people, you have to be other people-centered. Remember what we said, understanding is determining people's need. So you have to be a person who is other people-centered. Don't be self-centered, because that's going to generate a lot of misunderstanding. Failure to appreciate differences. When you fail to appreciate differences, that was also leading to misunderstanding. And last but not least, failure to acknowledge similarities. You see, most of the time we find 1% that we agree on, and we give 100%. But if you want to become a person who understands people, then you have to be a person who looks for 1% of where you agree with this other person or with the people, and then give your 100% effort. That way, you'll be able to appreciate and also know that where you guys are agreeing and where you're similar. Last but not least, in increasing your leadership abilities, increasing your influence, is equipping people. I want you to think about, if you are a soldier and you're well equipped, then you will be able to fight for the country that you're fighting for. So if you are a leader, if you are a person who wants to improve your leadership and having the ability to influence people, then you have to equip the people around you. Then people will be able to find you to be a person who they can trust, to be a person who they can count on. So if you want to increase your leadership, then you have to become that person who is equipping people. Equipping people is simply adding value to people. You have to become the person who is always looking in the room or looking at your team and asking, what do these people need? Find a need and meet the need. It's about becoming a person of value, because you can never offer anything that you don't have. So it's very important to realize that if you become a person who add value to others by equipping them, then your influence will definitely increase. And equipping is not only for you, but equipping is for everyone who is around you. So that is 5 ways you can be able to increase your leadership skills. Leadership is still in short supply. So if you become a better leader, you will always stand out in the crowd. So let's improve our leadership.